What is up, YouTube? Bobbles and Ball Cards back with another video. Hope you all have been having a wonderful weekend out there. I wanted to respond to a question someone posted on one of the recent videos. I've been having a blast discussing vintage cards and hopefully sharing information that can help folks out. If that's something that you either have been into or are just starting to get into. So there was a question asked about how to approach buying raw vintage cards. And I'm going to first off be 100% open on this. There is no 100% way to eliminate all your risks with buying raw vintage, but we'll get into some things that hopefully can help you out. And I'm going to do my best to kind of explain this, share some information and that sort of thing to maybe help you guys out. Anybody that has questions about that or fears, I'll be honest. When I first started getting into vintage, I thought, I have to buy graded, and that does become very expensive. Even A's add up over time. So it was nice to finally jump in, dip my feet in the water, and kind of try to navigate that space. And I'll tell you, one thing I have found so far is more oftentimes than not, the cards are going to be legit. There's not going to be anything wrong with them. It's just kind of learning more of what to look for to protect yourself on it. And it's still difficult, especially online, looking at a card and trying to determine if the price is good based upon graded copies of it. Like, to determine whether or not looking at a picture on Facebook or eBay or whatever, what the condition is just based off of a picture, it's still very tricky. So I'm going to go over a few things today that hopefully help folks out. If you enjoy the video, please give it a thumbs up. Comment below. If you have other tips, please comment down below and let folks read the comments. Maybe you have something added to this. I tried to list some things out, but as always, we're going to forget something. So if you have something else to add to this, please comment below. And hopefully it'll help the viewers out if this is something they're interested in. So first and foremost, I want to say the best thing to help you with buying vintage cards or any sports cards really is find yourself some communities of other people. None of us know everything about everything, so it's always nice to have other ears, other brains to pick, friends in the hobby to lean back on to say, hey, what are your thoughts on this? That sort of thing. So there are several different ways. Obviously Facebook, there's many different communities. I can just go here to groups and type in vintage, and there's several groups that I'm already in, but you can go to search groups for vintage sports cards, and you're gonna, if my internet works. Here we go. I just needed to click on group. So there's going to be tons of groups on here. Some are going to be more popular than others. I'm only in a couple, and it's people that have invited me that I trust and kind of have became friends with in the hobby that have invited me into it. But there are so many groups out here. You can hunt through, maybe find a group that fits you. There's also forums. This forum here, if you've never heard of it, net54baseball.com. These guys are there's a ton of members in here, and they know a lot. It covers all sports, baseball. It has post-war, pre-war cards like the Gaudies, the T206s. It has, you see here, football, boxing, basketball, cricket, hockey, all that. There's so much knowledge in here. There's over almost 2 million members, and there's nearly 500,000 active, or sorry, got that backwards. There's nearly 500,000 members and over 136,000 active members in the group. The post is nearing 2 million, so I read that wrong. But another great place if you want to get into vintage, if you're unsure of something, toss it in, toss a post in here. I guarantee you somebody in this forum is going to have an answer for you, or at least guide you in a proper direction of where to get an answer. So groups and forums, huge. Obviously, you can go on Twitter, you can go on Instagram. There's many great people in this hobby that are willing to help. So if you've ever got questions, always reach out to somebody out there. If they don't know the answer, they likely will know somebody that may. And if that person doesn't, they may know somebody that may. That's the beautiful thing of this hobby, and connecting all around. So always ask. Don't just assume, because that's when you get bit in the butt. So breaking this down, I'm going to do it kind of just some little tips from online to also in person, because it is different whichever way you're going about it. Obviously online you're basing it on not actually being able to see the card, and then in person you can have it physically in hand to make a better determination. But a few things to just go over. Well, I'll go through the list first. So online, one thing off the top of my head that is always common for people to say, if it is too good to be true, it most likely is. If you're on eBay and there is a 52 Topps Mickey Mantle and it looks really good, it looks like an authentic Mickey Mantle, but it's like $1,200. Or, now with the new authenticity program, it's just under the authenticity protocol. The odds are that mantle is fake. Now, that's kind of an uncommon, that's one that should be pretty obvious, but it goes with other cards, Clemente, Jackie, Ruth, all of your big name players, they have cards that are worth a good bit of money. So if people are tossing up the cards and they look good, but the price just doesn't make sense, it's almost like that you just want to smash the button and hit buy it now, the odds are, and the likelihood, it's going to be fake. Okay? And without it going through the authenticity thing, you're going to get it in the mail, and then you're probably going to be very upset. Another thing I always like to tell people, check a seller's other items, but also check their sales history. If they have like one or two of these vintage cards that are just iconic cards or iconic players, but then you go into their eBay store and they sell like, I don't know, tools or something, and then you look at their sales history and they've never sold baseball cards in their life, it's kind of like a red flag. Do they really know what they have? Are they trying to play off as it's real? A lot of times you'll see selling, not unsure of authenticity, selling as a reprint, but it'll be like hidden in the description kind of thing. And then you go look at all their other stuff and it's just like obvious, the storage locker finds, bought a storage locker, found all these baseball cards, all that stuff. It's common, descriptors of someone basically telling you, hey, I'm covering my butt. I know it's fake, but I want you to believe it's real, but I'm going to put all this in here because I want you to think that there is a chance it's real, so you'll buy it off me. And I'm covering my own ass. So check other items, sales histories. It's also, sometimes you might even run upon where they sold a fake, and then like you look back 2 months ago and they had sold one before. Different cards, but they've cycled it through, and they're making their whatever they can get off the card. They're not losing anything because it doesn't take much to make these or whatever. So they're just cycling it back through and making a little bit of money, every month or so, selling off these reprints, throwing them up at auction, taking what they can get, covering their own butt, and passing it along to somebody else. So check other items, check sales history. It sometimes can paint a better picture. If you're on Facebook, this goes back to the group thing. Try to stay in trusted groups. Look for groups that have a decent, membership. Don't run in the group and immediately start buying cards right away. Kind of join the group, check it out each day. See how the vibe is in there. Are people helpful? Are they assholes? Kind of get a vibe. Is it a community? Is it people that'll look out for one another? Because I'll tell you, if you're in a trusted Facebook group, especially for vintage, the one benefit to that is you're going to have, how many ever hundreds or thousands of people in this group that if somebody posts a card that's fake, there's going to be people calling it out. Like, others are going to see this card and they're going to call that seller out, and you're not going to be tricked into buying something that's fake. So that's a benefit with Facebook. If there's a card listed and it has a good community, good amount of members, and somebody's not calling it out, then you're probably pretty good. So, all right. I put this one down. This should be a no-brainer. If it's a big card, make sure, again, the whole pricing threshold thing, make sure it's going through the guarantee. Now, I'll say I've heard both ends of the sword on this. I've heard people selling a card that they kicked back, even though the card was authentic. When they authenticated, they said it didn't meet the description of the condition. And then I've heard the other side of it, to where a card got through, and after I seen it and what the price of the card was, and again looking into some research of the seller's history and other cards they had sold, that sort of thing, the description, I was very, very, very pretty sure that the card had been altered, and they didn't say anything about that when they authenticated the card. So the buyer kind of got stuck with this card that had been authenticated, but was 99.9% sure had been altered. And again, this is just, this is common sense too. Try to stick with trusted sellers. There's many sellers on eBay that are known and highly trusted, like Greg Morris cards. They even put down like condition based on all their raw cards. They have a website. They're known in the hobby. Some of those bigger sellers, they're not going to screw you over because they have a reputation that they want to uphold. They've been doing it for a long time. It's their specialty. And even though the card is raw, if they're saying it's EX to mint, likelihood that it is going to be EX to mint, sometimes even better. So if you're absolutely looking for something, sometimes it's just better to pay the few extra bucks and buy it from a trusted seller. Now, another thing you can do to gain your confidence and learn more, don't jump at like a big Mickey Mantle. Start buying some lower names. Get your feet wet. See how you do. Like, go online and maybe, I don't know, there's many vintage out there that, like the 57 set, it has some nice Hall of Fame rookies in it. And you can pick some of them up pretty cheap, 20, 30, 40 bucks. Maybe that's a play. Start off with the small ball. See how you do. Pick a card out. Get your experience with something smaller. Buy it. Maybe send it in if you want. If you're wanting graded, send it in and see, okay, did I get a really good copy or did I drop the ball? At least then you're not losing hundreds or thousands of dollars. You're only, playing with 20, 30, 40 bucks. So there's lots of great vintage out there. Hall of Fame rookies, even just playing year cards of some of these guys, that had long careers. You could get later year cards of them for cheap, rather than spending hundreds or thousands trying to chase a giant and then, coming up bum because it was a fake or altered or whatever. So that's another little suggestion for buying online. In person, um, this goes back to looking at sellers' other items. If you're at a dealer's table and they're mostly like ultra modern, prism, optics, stuff like that, and then this guy's got like a raw 51 Bowman mantle, you might ask, what the story is with the card. It could be legitimate. Maybe he got it in a trade. Maybe he's selling it for somebody on consignment. But ask why, like, because it's kind of sticking out like a sore thumb. It's a 51 mantle. If his graded stuff for this ultra modern, or if his ultra modern stuff's graded and this mantle's raw, maybe ask why isn't it graded. That's just something that, like, it's almost too obvious, right? But it's something to make sure and to suggest to people. Ask, look what the dealer has. If he's 100% just vintage, he has a reputation. He knows what he's doing. And again, that's going to be a dealer that likely isn't, intentionally anyway, isn't going to pass something on that is counterfeit or whatever. A lot of the dealers, if the card is trimmed and it's hard to tell, they're going to tell you it's trimmed as well. So, let's see. Oh, if at a show, if it's a show that you're familiar with, like we have some, obviously Chantilly is a couple times a year. We have some local shows around here, so you kind of see the same dealers. If it's at a show that you're familiar with, is the dealer there often? Is it a new guy that you've never seen before, or is this a dealer that's at the show often? If it's somebody that's there often, then people are going to know him. And again, he's not going to want to ruin his reputation, at least not intentionally. So that's something else that can instill a little bit of confidence in you. Here's one that some folks mention sometimes, but it's not mentioned often. Bring other cards with you. And when I say bring other cards with you, pick up a beater of, the vintage cards. Now, remember, the Topps runs from the early 50s are oversized. They're larger than, later run. I think, I'm fairly certain 57 was the first year that they were normal sized, and then 52 to 56 they were larger sized. But obviously Bowman's were different sized. So find a card for, like, if you're chasing down a certain set or a particular card. Find something that fits the measurements for the card you're looking for and bring one along. It doesn't have to be anything special, or it can have some wrinkles in it, but use that to help you kind of look at and use as a size comparison to help determine a little bit better of whether or not the card's been trimmed. Obviously, if it has, it's going to be smaller than the card you're bringing with you. So bring another thing you can do. It may not work 100%, but a lot of people have those centering tools. You could kind of bring that for the normal size, the 57s on, to set in there to kind of see where it lines up on the centering tool. Now let's see. Oh, here's some other things. Now, this is other stuff. I want to give a shout out to Breakout Cards. Everybody knows Ryan. If you want, this is a great book, Spotting Fakes, examining the top 50 faked sports cards. Pick this up, read it, study it. It'll help you. There's also a lot of information on, just online, Googling, again, forums, groups, that sort of thing. There's a ton of information out there, but you can pick this book up. I wanted to give a shout out to him. I forgot to mention that I met up with him at the hangout at the Sheraton when I did my national recap video. So sorry about that, Ryan. I said I was going to forget people on the list, and I realized later that I forgot to mention him. So shout out to him. There's his Spotting Fakes. Get yourself a lighted loop. You can buy here a 2-pack for $12.50. Amazon Prime. Get yourself a lighted loop. Study up on the printing from the vintage cards. Obviously, the older cards that were printed, they should have like dot looking print to them. Modern day printers are going to print the cards differently, so there's things you can tell in there. A lot of the inks, many people don't know that, like the black border on the 52 tops, it should be a solid black line. It should not have like any pixelation to it at all. It should just be solid black all the way around that border. So that's, something a loop can help you out with. It's something cheap, $12 for a 2-pack. And then this is something that you don't hear too often, but pick yourself up a little mini portable blacklight for looking at raw. And this doesn't just go with vintage. You can use this for ultra modern stuff as well. But what this will do is if there's been any color added to the card, it's going to react with the blacklight, and it will kind of give a different glow or a different effect to it because of the color, the marker, the crown, pen, pencil, whatever. You're going to be able to see if there's like any color added or anything like that. So, the loop will help you look at printing. The blacklight can help you determine, and another thing it helps with is determining if the paper is the same. If there is a authentic card there from the same set and then a fake card there, you're going to be able to see a difference with the blacklight on the way it reacts to the paper stock. But it will also help you determine whether or not color's been added, altered, that sort of thing. And then, of course, bring a card or some measuring tool to kind of measure to see whether or not the card has been trimmed. Now, trimming is difficult to 100% determine because a lot of folks got good at, they would trim the card and then put it in like a screw down and flatten the card back out. And then it becomes a matter of thickness. And has the thickness of the cardstock changed? That's going to be something probably pretty difficult to tell right at a card show with a card in hand. But hopefully, measuring it and everything, you won't run across too many situations where they were flattened back out. All right. Don't buy it if your risk is too high. What I'm saying there is, if it's a 4 or 5 figure card, you're just unsure of it. You don't feel confident in it. If it is bad, you're going to take a hell of a loss. The loss you may not be able to recover from it. If you lose $2,000, $5,000, $10,000, and you're not capable of losing that, even $500 could set someone back pretty hard. If the risk is too high, just stay away from it. If it doesn't seem legit, just walk away. It's okay to walk away. It almost goes back to the if it's too good to be true thing. If it's too risky, walk away. Don't let it discourage you, but no, it's better to not spend that money if you aren't confident and lose that money than it is to have that excitement, that energy of picking the card up to only find out later it was fake and then you're out all that money. Especially in person, because you might buy from a dealer or a show attendee and then never see them again. And you have no protection on that. So if it's too big of a risk, walk away from it. And then ask the dealer. This is going to be one that's going to be kind of hit or miss, but ask the dealer if you could get a second opinion on it. If you're unsure of it, if, like at the National, you had several places, including SGC, that had the raw card review thing. That was up to a $2,500 declared value. Ask the dealer. Be like, hey, I want to buy this card, but I'm not 100% confident in it. Is it okay if I take it and have, so-and-so look at it? Or can I take it over and get it raw card reviewed? If it comes back with any foul play or it's not legitimate or something like that, do you back your card? Because if they're not willing to back the card and all you're asking them to do is, basically telling them you're not confident. Now, if they have reason to believe that you're going to buy the card, take it, switch it out, and bring it back and try to get a refund, then sure. But if you're right there at the show and it's like a multi-day show or something and you can bring it back and show them, hey, this is the same card. Take pictures of it. Take pictures of the card you bought from them. That way you can photo match it to the one that you're taking to get authenticated. But if they're, if they're not willing to do that, then maybe you should walk away because they're not backing the product they're selling, and there could be some, you know, some higher risk involved in it. Most dealers, if they're confident in what they're selling, they're not going to have one bit of a problem with that, as long as they can confirm that it's the same card that you bought from them. So that's just some tips. Again, I know I probably left some stuff out. If you guys watched and you have anything else further that could help folks out that maybe want to jump into vintage sports cards, especially buying raw, because it can save you a lot of money, comment down below. Help folks out. I love doing these videos to help people, and if others can join in and we all help each other, that's great. So that's all I have for you guys. Stay safe, stay healthy, and until the next video, I'm out.